What is aquaculture, exactly? What does it look like? These are great questions, and the short answer is aquaculture, similar to land-based agriculture, is the farming of aquatic species for food, and it can look like many things in many different bodies of water: lakes, ponds, rivers, even the open ocean. You've probably seen aquaculture at work in your life without even knowing it. Aquaculture has a very long history. We're talking very long. Practices similar to our modern aquaculture industry date all the way back to before 1000 BCE in China, where farmers raised koi, a freshwater fish considered in their culture to be a symbol of good luck and fortune. It's safe to say that aquaculture has come a long way since the first koi ponds. What are some species that come to mind when you think of aquatic farmed food? Maybe you think of lobsters, a delicacy of the East Coast. While delicious, it's actually a common misconception. Lobsters are typically caught through fishing and not farming practices, so they're not technically a part of the aquaculture industry. Lobsters aren't actually raised and harvested, which is exactly what makes aquaculture aquaculture. So if lobsters aren't an aquaculture species, what is? Aquaculture is typically defined by the big four species: finfish, either baitfish or salmon, oysters, mussels, and kelp. Let's look at salmon.
This species of fish is raised in hatcheries during the early stages of their lives until they are large enough to be released into these big net pens. These pens are typically 30 to 50 feet deep, so that the salmon have plenty of room to swim around and grow.
Here they'll live out their lives until they're big enough to be sold and eaten. Similar to salmon, oysters are raised in an aquaculture system called an upweller.
These upwellers, which are essentially incubators for oysters, pump ocean water into cylinders where the baby oysters, about as small as a single grain of sand, feed on very tiny organisms called plankton in the water. At the beginning of summer, once the oysters are big enough, aquaculturists will move the young oysters into cages in the ocean, where they will spend the rest of their lives growing big enough to be bought and sold.
Salmon and oysters are examples of aquaculture that you can see along the coast while you're enjoying yourself at the beach. But what about the kinds of aquaculture that we can't see? The nature of aquaculture means that the systems of planting, growing, and harvesting take place deep in the water. And because of this, it is unlikely that you will see species like kelp and mussels who reside below the surface.
Both of these species are grown on ropes tethered out in deep water along the coast. Mussels attach themselves with strands called byssal threads to ropes placed in the ocean water. There, they float in the water, absorbing nutrients and growing big enough for commercial sale. Sea vegetables are also grown on ropes under the water. After the seeds are developed in a nursery, they are transported to the farms as young plants. They are usually kept just 4 to 8 feet under the water, where they grow to sizes sometimes even longer than 10 feet.
So where are we today? Well, systems like salmon pens, kelp lines, mussel ropes, and oyster upwellers are much more advanced than the first koi ponds in early China. But researchers are hard at work to develop the most efficient and sustainable techniques and systems to ensure that we can continue to use our planet's water resources to feed our growing population. Aquaculture is a very quickly growing industry with a bright future, in need of harvesters, farmers, and workers to bring aquaculture from ocean water to American tables. As a whole, aquaculture plays a very important role in the future of global food production, and you could very well be a part of that progress.